Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. We hope you're doing well. Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. I can never get that finger pointed the right way. There we go. Hey, look, this is important stuff. Please, let me tell you what's going on, and let me tell you how you need to pay attention to it and why. Currently, there is a considerable groundswell of getting Medicare to pay claims outside the United States. Now, I want to make sure that we're clear about it, and I want to make sure that you're clear about it, and I want you to try and support this. All right, but it's important. It's important because it's actually doable and it's actually financially and fiscally responsible to do so. Just to go so that you know, I have 40 years of experience dealing with Medicare. I've dealt with Medicare clinically. I've dealt with Medicare on the clinical side. I've dealt with Medicare on the facility side. I've dealt with Medicare in all aspects. I know a little bit about this. Okay, so let's start down this path. You need to understand what the objective is and what's going on. There are tens of thousands of expats all over the world, and they paid all their life into Medicare, and they can't get any coverage outside of the United States other than Puerto Rico and Guam because those are U.S. territories. Otherwise, as they even still continue to pay into Medicare, they may be paying their Medicare, retired and already paying their Medicare premium. Okay? They get nothing. If they had been in the United States, they would go to a Medicare approved hospital, get a Medicare approved service, and they would owe 20% copay for typical Medicare plan, not a Medicare Advantage plan, but just a typical Medicare plan. The price is fixed. Medicare has a deal that says in order for you to accept Medicare patients, this is the way it works. If you have a heart attack in the US, even the Medicare bill itself, okay, is going to be in excess of $100,000, of which, what can I say? It's going to be 20%. Now, if you go to the hospital anywhere else in the world, you have no coverage. And that would be just like you have no coverage. Let's say you didn't have any coverage anywhere near that in the US. Well, that would now cost you $500,000. Okay. I mean, by the time you put the doctor's bills in there, the supplies, you put in everything that goes along with it, the physician's fees, the cardiac catheterization, and then if you have to have a stent, the whole 9 yards. You may have even had a severe heart attack and you ended up in ICU for a couple of days on top of that. If you have a heart attack, in most other countries, they're going to charge less than what Medicare charges. Now, there's a push right now to get Medicare to pay approved claims in the Philippines. Actually, it's worldwide, but I'm only addressing the Philippines. But, if you're in another country, this would apply to you as well. The bottom line here is that the Medicare could easily say if a hospital meets the criteria to become an accredited hospital in the United States, an accredited hospital that accepts Medicare in the United States, if they can meet that criteria in the Philippines, then why not? Or what they could also do is the government could say, you had a heart attack. They'll review your chart and they'll say yes, and this is what we would have paid, and they'll cut you a check for it and you pay the hospital. So there's some variations involved in there. There are 3, to the best of my knowledge, hospitals that would very quickly, very quickly qualify as a Medicare approved facility. All right. They are Joint Commission approved, Joint Commission members. There's one in Dumaguete, St. Luke's in Manila, and I think Makati Medical also. All right. The point is that this would save the government of the U.S. money as well. Now you have to consider and think, first off, there's tons of Filipinos that went to the U.S., worked in the U.S., paid taxes in the U.S., and they're retired and they can't qualify. They became citizens in the U.S., but they can't qualify and come home to the Philippines because of health care. They can't qualify. Philippines just doesn't take Medicare, but they qualify for it in the U.S. All right. Medicare has got billions of dollars that have been put into it that far exceed the amount of money that the actuaries say people will live to see and use, okay, and people that never get access to it. This is your opportunity to try and further this. In the link below, we'll give you information, not a link, but there'll be information below that we will give you to contact a specific congressman, okay, or contact one of the guys that's heading this up and pushing them in to this direction. It's important. This is important for every one of you. I don't get Medicare. I'm actually not old enough to get Medicare yet, but I'm very close. But think of it, what it would be like to get Medicare. Because for vets also, think about this. If you have a hospital that now qualifies as a Medicare approved hospital, we might be able to also push that to be a TRICARE or military health care hospital. The hospitals here would gladly take the DRG. So let me explain this. For what happens is, all right, this is the perfect example. All right, when you get admitted to a hospital, you have to be admitted in the United States. You're admitted to a hospital under what's called a DRG. That's a diagnosis-related group. Okay? And that DRG says this is what it's going to take to make you better. Now, they can alter it. They can add to it. Like, for instance, let's say you get admitted for pneumonia. And for sake of brevity, we'll say its DRG code is 1. During the time, and this is not uncommon whatsoever, all right, during the period of time that you're in the hospital, you develop a nosocomial infection. They can tack that onto that number 1 with number 2. So what happens is the hospital, Medicare tells the hospital, hey, For pneumonia, for DRG code 1, we're going to pay X. That's it. And you must collect the remaining no more than 20% from, or actually they're going to authorize X. You must accept X, and of that X, we're going to pay 80%. Again, this is not if you have a, what do they call it? It's on the tip of my tongue, advantage plan. All right. And I'm sure that when they do this, there'll be some carve outs for the advantage plans. It'll still work for you. Okay? For those of you that have advantage plans in the US and you come. But this is a big deal. It's an absolutely big deal because the hospitals here know that DRG code 1 says you get 3 days in the hospital, you get this, and you get this. Okay? That's what you get. And we're going to pay X. All right, let's call it $2,500. Okay? If you walk in off the street here, you have no insurance, and you go into most hospitals, 3 days in the hospital. Well, I can tell you right now, Arlene's dad was just in the hospital for 3 days, and he received medications, and he received a blood transfusion. The total cost was like $800. Okay? Actually, less than that, come to think about it. My point is the actual cost, the Philippine government would be, or the Philippine hospital, I'm sorry, would be receiving, in most instances, if not all, far more if I had Medicare and they could accept it. So getting this done is not so bad, but you have to get American politicians to say, we're not going to cheat those guys out of all the money that they paid. You're not going to, these guys put in 40 years, 30, 40 years of Medicare payments out of their paycheck, and they can't use it, and that money's just going to sit there. Don't let the government take your leftover Medicare funds and shift it somewhere else, just like they shift Social Security. Social Security would be fine if they wouldn't quit taking that money and putting it somewhere else. Medicare is the same way. If you're watching this, that means that you're interested in Medicare and you're interested in insurance, and that's important. Voice it. Let your voice be heard. Let your intention be heard. Tell these congressmen, and we're going to give you a link to the contact information from one of them, all right, that, hey, I'm a voter and I vote. And I'm going to remember when I find out when this bill gets introduced, if it doesn't get introduced, I'm going to remember who didn't introduce it. Then I'm going to remember who didn't vote for it. And I'm going to make sure that on a local level and on a national level, I vote otherwise. It's time for them to come up with this. If we can come up with, putting military bases in other countries, if we can send billions of dollars in aid, keep in mind, the United States is the largest free money pot in the world when it comes to foreign aid. Nobody comes even close to the amount of foreign aid. Now, I'm not going to get into whether it was good foreign aid or bad foreign aid or whatever, okay? But we've given our tax dollars to a lot of different countries. How about the money that we actually have that was our money? Our money. We paid from our paychecks for this money. How about let us have it. Let us use it. Okay? How about giving me the money I could use that I even pay in my Medicare premium, which I don't personally pay for right now, but I will soon, and my mother does. All right? It's up to you. It's up to you to share the word, share this video, show it, get people interested, talk to them, talk to your expat friends, talk to everybody. But more importantly, spend 5 minutes and write a simple letter or pick up the phone and give a call to this congressman. Don't subscribe. You know what? You don't need to subscribe to me. You don't need to like this. I would like for you to like the video because I want more people to see it. But when it comes right down to it, the most important thing here is that you get involved. 5 minutes of your time can make a world of difference. I'm not asking you to head up a committee. Asking you to give 5 minutes of your time to make that phone call or write that letter. A simple email works. Thanks, and check below. Have a great day.